It is easy to make the argument that there has not been a more consistent and dominant unit in the history of Canadian university football than a group who started to move through Quebec City in 2012. 3 first-rounders, including a first overall with Pierre Lavertu 2 years ago, have led the way into the pros. Now the last of that group have made a statement at the Combine and are all ranked in the CFL's Scouting Bureau. It's possible that in a 3-year period, Laval could produce 5 first-round offensive linemen. The man responsible for that unit is offensive line coach Carl Brennan, who we talked to on Skype Tuesday. Carl, you've got the possibility of having 5 first-rounders. There's some people out there predicting maybe even 6 first-rounders in the space of 3 years. Tell me, when you were recruiting along with Glenn, and you saw these prospects in the field and you struck up conversations with them, did you see an outcome like this many years later?
I think you can't really, have an outcome of thinking that those guys will all be first rounders once the time comes for the CFL draft. But at some point in time, we felt that they were very good football players, given the opportunity for them to, to showcase their talent and perform through the years. The thing with those guys is that they were first-year stars right from the start. So the experience that they achieved through those years, some people played 13 games in their first 2 years. So the experience that they gained in those big games or whatnot is key to what happened to them right now.
Carl, even though most of these guys were first-year starters, what kind of learning curve did they go through, and how different of a player were they coming into your system to now when they're leaving your system?
I think first of all, they were all very quick studies. It's a testament to the coaching that they had at the high school and CEGEP level here in Quebec City, and the coaches, the work that they've done with them. That's a testament to them. I think what gave them the chance to perform at that level and to be quick studies is that they were extremely hard workers, and they were, all of them were, sponges to what I was telling them and what we were telling them. And they, I think from the conditioning program to the workout to the football wise, they came in and they accepted the challenge full go, and then that's why they are the players they are today.
Yeah, but you've got a group there that not only with those frontline players, but if you go back a couple of years, I think you were 3 deep, and you had some guys that were second stringers that were on the bench that could probably start at most CIS programs. How do you manage the expectations of those guys that have to sit behind guys like this, and how do you continue to develop them and keep their focus?
You know what, Jim? We've never really had like 15 offensive line. We were always around the 11, 12, 13 kind of guys. We were never like some universities or some places down in the States where they have 20 O-line. We basically work around 12 to 13. Obviously, yeah, some of them could have worked, but I felt that the guys that stayed here wanted to be here and wanted to live the Laval experience and were willing to sit on the bench. Our 2 centers were the last 2 years. Carl Brennan, he played for us 5 years. He was a starter just as his 5th year. Vince Levitt this year, same type of deal. He came into his 5th year. He came back. He was their starter. So they truly believe they liked the way we handled them and everything, and I think that's just part of it.
Vaillancourt, Gagnon, Lauzon-Séguin, they have probably all moved up in one way or another thanks to their effort at the Combine. You can do a whole lot as an offensive line coach with these guys between the lines and in practice, but how much of a percentage does the Combine count? You've obviously coached on the pro side too in the CFL, and how much do you work with these guys in terms of getting them ready for a Combine?
You know what? We have guys that we have our strength and conditioning guys here who do a great job of preparing them for the physical aspect. What I help with them is more of the I always have. I've been doing this since Pierre Lavertu. I work at the interview process with them. I run through an interview, like the interviews they could have with the CFL teams, just to get them accustomed to maybe the language, hearing the questions, responding to the questions as well as they can, maybe changing a couple of words here and there so they understand things a little better. I'm more of the, maybe the mental aspect of the interview, and then, at that point, the guys I think are ready to take the challenge and go into the one-on-ones, the individual drills, and the interviews.
Okay, I got a couple of questions about this special six group. Out of that six, who was the strongest that you had to work with in terms of physical strength?
Out of the six, I would say Philippe Gagnon and probably Pierre Lavertu was very strong also.
Okay, who was the fastest? Who had the best natural quickness out of the group?
I would say Charles and Carl Lavoie.
And who was the smartest?
Football-wise, because I think they're all pretty smart cookies, but Pierre was very, very smart football player, understands the game. I think they all do, but Pierre was one of the guys that sticks out to me like the most football smart type of guy. And you know what? I think they're well prepared to get to the next level, and they understand the game pretty well also.
Tell me what kind of effect there was for your group, for your offensive line group, playing against a front seven like Montreal's for 3 games a year. I've talked to a lot of the Montreal guys, and they said playing against your group made them better players. Was it the same thing in turn for your guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. Those games, the Montreal games are, you don't have to motivate these guys very, very much to play those games. They're always, a big game on our calendar, on our schedule. And absolutely, Montreal's front is very, first of all, they're very well coached. They're very well, they give you different kinds of situations that you have to deal with, and athletically they're very, very good. So I believe that they make us better.
Now, you were part of the Laval team that took to the field in the CIS for the first time back in the mid-1990s, and part of the resurgence of the game of football in the province of Quebec. There are a lot of great big guys in football coming out of Quebec. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who's down with the Kansas City Chiefs. David Foucault, who came out of Montreal and is also on an NFL roster. Do you think in sports in Quebec, with the resurgence of football, there's finally a place for the big guy to compete? Baseball isn't necessarily a big guy game. Hockey, not necessarily a big guy game, like in terms of what we're talking about with offensive and defensive linemen. Do you think that because of the surge in football, you've been lucky enough in the RSEQ to now capitalize on what's being produced through the minor system and the CEGEP system?
Absolutely, absolutely. The resurgence of the football part, yes, to Laval, to the Montreal Alouettes, but also to the CEGEP teams and the high school teams who do a great job of promoting promoting football and getting these guys to like the sport. And you're right. When I grew up, I was a hockey player. I probably started playing football at the tail end of my schooling. So and you talk to these guys like as hard as that might sound, Charles Vaillancourt was a hockey player when he was young also. He played multiple sports, and I think that's why at some point these guys are good athletes and good football players, because they did play other things and they discovered football at a later age. But Pierre Lavertu played soccer. All these guys. Phil Gagnon played was a judo guy. Jason Lauzon-Seguin was a basketball guy. So all these guys played different sports and helped them, play football.
Well, do you think at the age of the one-sport athlete, especially with teenagers, it's important to play a number of different sports? You've just illustrated how these top-line offensive linemen were multi-sport guys before they decided to focus in on one sport at the university level. I know USA Football really preaches the idea of playing many different sports as you're coming up in the system, especially in the face of hockey really becoming a 12-month-a-year sport for a lot of kids. How important is it to play a number of different sports as you come up through the system?
I believe it's extremely important to play multiple sports. It develops, playing different things develops different aptitudes and all kinds of stuff. I think the other thing is if you're specializing at an early age in a sport, at some point you might get the effect that the kid at the tail end of his career or whatnot, or as he gets older, gets tired of playing hockey, solely basketball, or solely football. I think it's a great thing that kids have to play multiple sports to develop the athleticism that they need to play other sports.
Clint Utley was on here a couple of weeks ago from Canada Football Chat, and of course he was the head coach at McGill, and he said the one thing that's different about recruiting in Quebec is that the kids have a literacy about the game, in that when you approach them, they know what's on your depth chart. They know where they fit in. They know what's going on in CIS football. How much of a challenge is that for you as a group when you go out to recruit players, when they say, oh, hey, you guys are very deep at offensive line. I don't know where I can fit in.
You know what, Jim, and I touched on it a little earlier. A lot of people think that we had this cupboard at Laval, and we just open the door and 15 guys just pop out, year in and year out. When we recruit the kids, we show them our depth chart. We show them the guys that we have. We show them the guys that, yes, we are recruiting for the following season, and then we tell them where they fit into this. We never really have a problem with saying, some people say, well, maybe you have too many here. Maybe I got a better chance of starting elsewhere. But what we usually do is we just show them who we have, how deep we are, and where they fit in, and usually things work out pretty well for us.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of talk in CIS football circles about capping roster sizes. UBC just made a run to the Vanier Cup with 58 players on their roster. Is there the thought in your mind, and with the University of Laval, is get the best, don't go for numbers? Because I'm not sure if I can ever remember a Laval squad going into a camp with any more than 90 players.
No, we don't. We usually, it's a philosophy of Coach Constantine, a coach, of ours, to not bring in too many people, because the more people you have, the more people that do not play or do not dress, the more unhappy people you're going to have. So our philosophy is when we recruit a kid, we tell them we're going to give them an opportunity to compete and to win a starter's job or a dress roster spot or whatnot, and from there, kids make up their own decisions from there.
Every coach has to go through cycles, and obviously you've moved a lot of great offensive linemen through your system. What does it look like for this coming year, and how's your recruiting season been?
Recruiting went very well. We got some kids that that we think could do a good job for us, and then obviously losing, we lost Pierre in 2013, and then Danny in 2014, Danny and Carl Lavoie. Now we're out of our 5 starters, we're probably going to lose 4 of them. So it's going to be a different face of on the offensive line for the Rouge. I believe we have good players. We recruited a guy named Sam Lefebvre, was with Team Canada for a number of years. We got a guy, Ketel Assé from Montmorency, who we feel that could really do some good stuff for us. And we got guys coming in July here that we feel that could take those spots, and there's going to be competition, and sometimes change is good. It's a new challenge.
Well, I got to ask you before I let you go here, Carl, what was the peak for that group? I think it was 2013. I was so compelled by the play of that offensive line when I was at the Vanier Cup in Quebec City in 2013. I had to go down to the sideline to watch the whole fourth quarter so I could see these guys up close, and they were a fearsome front. Was 2013 the peak, the apex for that group as an offensive line in your mind, or is there another year that stands out?
Well, you know what, and I think you hit a good point right there, Jim. That that group you're talking about, the Pierre Lavertu, Danny Grou, Phil Gagnon, Charles Vaillancourt, and Carl Lavoie, who are, we got already three of them right now in the first round picks. Now the two other guys are surely might be following their footsteps. I think just that group was a special group, and the special group of that that leader at that point was Pierre Lavertu, and yes, they were hungry. They were a hungry group, and they got after you.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate you taking the time out, Carl. Say hi to Glenn for us, and best of luck as you head along in through spring camps and into this upcoming season.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate you asking me in the chat.